Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Booth. Part two tonight. We had Coach Jamie Pruitt on a little bit earlier. Now we got Coach Steve Sparks of the Fort Payne Lady Wildcats, along with Phil Harris. And of course, I just mentioned our special guest, Coach Sparks. Coach Sparks, thanks for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, we appreciate you taking the time. I know this is an extremely busy time of year for you. So, and we kind of talked about it before we went on the air, so we'll just kind of jump right into it.
Okay.
Rough game last night, Coach.
Yeah, it was. The last 5 minutes especially was difficult for us. I thought we played well. Um, you know, 3 quarters and a little bit of the fourth quarter. We actually extended the lead early into the fourth quarter, and they finished the game on an 18-0 run, which was not what we were expecting, or not what we were hoping, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing a team for the third time this year, how difficult is it preparing for that?
Well, I mean, I thought we were prepared for it. The first time we played them, defensively they were not as aggressive, and then the second time we played them at home a week or so ago, I want to say they ambushed us a little bit. They really got after us. So I felt like we had, we practiced and had talked a lot about it, and had good practices up to the game, and then once you get in that environment, we had a great crowd. You just can't reciprocate that in practice. And the closer the game got, we got a little more tight, and some shots didn't go in. They made a few shots, and then next thing you knew, we was in a tough basketball game. And once they had the lead, they were able to dictate how the game went. Because we're not definitely not as quick as they are in all five positions. So they spread the floor out, and we had to play uncharacteristic of how we've played all year. So, I've never been a coach that calls a lot of timeouts, and, I hadn't called, a timeout until the fourth quarter. And, after that timeout, they went on an 18-0 run. So I don't know if I'm going to call another one or not. We went up 35-30. About 5.5 minutes to go. We were up one entering the fourth, and we went, on about a 6-0 run, or 6-1 run, and it was 35-30. And I called a timeout after we made a three in the corner. I knew that was a critical part of the game, and called a timeout to get our defense set. Hopefully to get a stop, and then could go down and add points to the lead, because that would be, it's crucial. But they went down and shot it, missed it, got the offensive board and foul, made the free throw. So it was a 3-point trip after that. Then it was just downhill from there. So
how difficult is it preparing for an athletic team like that?
Well, I mean, just work extremely hard at practice. We know that, our style of play and our personnel, that's our Achilles heel, if that's what you want to call it. We practice with 6 players. Sometimes we try to get some boys out to scrimmage with us, or the coaches. But we really work a lot on catching triple threat, being fundamental. V cut before the catch, pass fake, meet the pass. All of the fundamental aspects of the game that you have to do when you're not as quick as the opponent. And two, this year we've played purposely a lot of athletic teams, trying to prepare ourselves for the postseason. We've played Anniston, we've played Pell City, We played Lee of Huntsville. So we've tried to schedule teams that's going to to get up on you, and create some chaos that you can't really reciprocate at our practices. So it's really uh, an ongoing process. You play summer ball, summer camp. You play athletic teams on purpose, or you go to play dates. So it just didn't happen. The last week when we knew we had to play Gadsden City in the area tournament. So it's on our mind a lot, and we try to to fix it the best way we know how.
You'll play Friday night. Excuse me. You'll play Friday night. Who do you play Friday night?
We play Oxford at Oxford.
Right. So practice today. What did you come out and tell your team after giving up that 18-point run there in the fourth?
Well, yesterday we had practice yesterday, so the game was Monday night. So
Okay.
we had we've already had one practice. Definitely today's practice was much better than yesterday's practice. Yesterday's practice, it was a struggle, honestly. But as a coach and as a coaching staff, you have to be energetic at practice. Um, because the kids are down. I mean, everybody was down. I mean, that was a
Yeah.
game that we had an opportunity to win. I'm not going to say we should have won, but we beat them twice. And the third time, as we all know, is a challenge. But I mean, we felt like we had an opportunity to win the game. And we felt like that we had to do a few things down the stretch to win the game, and hold our composure was one of them. So after the game, we were all down. The players were down, coaches were down, but we've talked about all season. Um, I mean, you've got your regular season, and our goal is to be the best that we can be. That last season game. That's what we preach every day at practice. At regular season games when we play teams that's not as talented as we are. Our goal is not to run the score up on them. I've had several people over the years say, well, why do you sub? Why don't you let your best players, get a lot of points? Or why don't you do this? One, those best players are not always going to be on your team. So you always want to give the younger ones an opportunity when you can, because that's going to be that's your future. And so our goal is every day to improve, and then the area championship is really a season in itself. That's how we look at it. It's a one-game season. You win it, that's great. You've accomplished one of your goals. But if you don't win it, it's tough. But your next season is just 3 days away, and so that's how we approached it. We were 23-4, then we were 0-1, and then now we're 0-0. And so that's 100% how we approached approached the game. We just talked openly about the game. What did we think went wrong, and how can we make sure it does not happen again? As a team, as individual players, and as coaches, what happened that 5 minutes, to make sure that we can correct it and it doesn't implode again. And we talked about that in the locker room after the game. There wasn't any yelling and screaming and stomping and throwing clipboards. We just, I just asked them, as a whole, what did we do incorrectly that we need to fix going forward? And just had a, open dialogue. A couple of them spoke a little bit. Some of them, of course, didn't, which is fine. But, at that point, what was done, and that season's over. And we've got the biggest game of the year coming up on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. From here on out, it's one and done if you
One and
if you don't
done. That's
show up.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
right.
and my apologies, I forgot what day it was. I knew y'all played on Monday, but
No, that's fine. No,
the
absolutely.
weeks run together, and I didn't even give you the proper introduction, being the regular season area champs as well. That's a huge accomplishment for you.
Right. Yes, sir. We were 4-0 in the area, and our first game at Gadsden City, they'd been off for a week, actually about 9 days. They hadn't played, and it was one of those makeup game or early game because of the snow coming in. We played it played at 4 o'clock that afternoon, and we got off to a fast start, and they got off to a slow start, and they were in the hole early, and they didn't have much get up after that. And then the home game a week or so ago, they were focused. They wanted the game, and they were playing for a first place tie for a coin flip, and so they got after us. I thought we played well that game. It was nip and tuck, most of the game, and the last 3 or 4 minutes, we outscored them 7-0, and won 40-33. And so so we knew going into the game that it was not going to be an easy game, just because of our style of play and their style of play. Was going to be possession by possession, and we'd not been in a drought like that the whole year, but it happened at the wrong time to win the game, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to turn you over to Phil. I know he's got a lot of questions to ask. So,
Okay.
Phil,
Well, Coach, and I think you were referring back to that game, the 40-33 game, and the Whiteside girl, she really, I think was her name Whiteside. I think she's the 8th grader. She really stepped up and played well in that game, and they had a ball and missed a 3-pointer, and then y'all outlasted them down the stretch, knocked down your free throws. But I was at the game Monday, and late in the ball game, they did a very good job defensively in the half court. Y'all didn't get a whole lot in the half court, but you played so well defensively. Most of your baskets, and were transition baskets.
Right.
But late in the ball game, that kind of went away because they started knocking down shots. And like you was talking about, their quickness made a difference in the fourth quarter. They was able to penetrate some, and they handled the ball well. They quit turning it over and started knocking down shots. And then everything y'all had just seemed like was pulling teeth. And the ladies, I think, just got frustrated.
Well, no doubt. It was a big atmosphere for a lot of our players, and it went, it was 35-30. It was fine, but once the game went on down the stretch, and they they had the 3-point play, cut it 35-33, and I think we went down the very next possession and had a turnover, and we tried to save it in bounds, and they caught it and went and laid it up, non-contested, and it was 35-35. And then after that, it got tough for us, and they made a couple of baskets that they had. Excuse me, that they hadn't made. Made a 3-pointer that's not what they hang their hat on, as if you want to call it that. And once they got a 38-35, 39, I remember looking at the scoreboard, it was 39-35, and they started slowing the ball down and spreading the floor, and then we had to gamble in the traps. We couldn't guard a man in all 5 positions, but we had some success of trapping them half court 1-3-1. When you've got a team like we've got that's got a little length, not big, but a little length, and not as quick, the 1-3-1 has been successful for us. So,
Well, Coach, I'm sorry.
and they made free throws.
Yes.
They looking at the book. 2 or 3 sets, they made 2 out of 2, and it's hard to beat a team when you're behind and they're making free throws.
Yeah, they seem to do everything right in that like that 5-minute stretch in the second
Absolutely.
half, and they did everything right because up until that point, the girls played very well defensively, and I was, I thought they're going to pull this thing out, especially when they got up 5, but it just, the wheels rolled off, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, even in the first half, going back and watching film again, we had an 8-9 point lead maybe twice in the first half, and they got back in it. And they were in foul trouble the first half, which contributed to us, extending the lead. But then, the second half, they done a better job of not fouling.
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah, they did, especially down the stretch. Well, Coach, I want to go back. You spent 25 seasons as a head basketball coach. I think it is now. Last year, you picked up your 500th win. You've had a long ride, and so, basketball's been good to you. Do you see yourself coaching on a whole lot longer?
I'm going to coach, I guess that's bifold, I guess. Coach as long as they'll let me coach, and coach as long as I enjoy it. And, I love it. I mean, I know I've done it. This is my 30th season. I was on the boys' side for my first 4 years, and this is my 26th season, as the girls' coach. And I mean, I still love it. I was talking to, I guess it was yesterday. No, it was had to be Monday before the game. I may have had a different look on it yesterday than I did on Monday, but I was talking to some of the guys, coaches up in the office, and what we enjoyed about it the most, and I enjoy the practice. I enjoy watching film. I enjoy going to scout. Just trying to find advantages for your team. I still like I like every part about it. So I don't know. You hear coaches say when it's ready, they know it's ready. But I still love what I'm doing.
Well, Coach, talk some about the young ladies on this team. I know you've got 5 seniors, 4 start. Your first one off the bench is also a senior. Talk about these young ladies, because I know they like to hear their names, and I know you've moved some up from the JV up to the varsity level, and you're going to be counting on them in the future. Talk a little bit about them.
This has been a special group, for a long time. I participate in our Rec Plus program, our youth program, and I've been around these young ladies and helped coach them since 3rd grade. They were undefeated, maybe 1 loss actually to Albertville back growing up through the Rec Plus leagues of 2nd grade through the 6th grade. And then they were successful as middle school team, and then this group has been on the varsity, since they were freshmen. So they have really put a lot of time in basketball, and that makes it easier for me to love the game, honestly, and it helps keep you motivated and love coaching more. I talk to other coaches who have some internal issues on their team, and they're ready to get out every day. But I can say this year has really been. I mean, it's been great. I don't want to say it's been my best year because you always have good years along the way, but this has been really a good group of players. Just not just players, good kids. They're good academically. You don't have to constantly check their grades. To see if they're passing. They're at practice when you call practice. You don't have to call them to see where they are or where their parents, ask their parents where's the player, where's their why they're not there. So this has been a very good group, and they all play multiple sports. Libby Redden, she's a post player for us. We call her a post, but then you play other schools that have a 6'2" thick player underneath, and that's what I was growing up, and it's what we've played in the past. But Libby has battled every trip, every possession at the post over the years, and has really evolved into a great little player around the basket. She runs the floor well. Then she's played since youth league. Then you've got Avery Chadwick, who's just I don't know what you call a utility player. She handles the ball some, plays the wing some. If we want to run a post set and I need a second post, to help screen, she goes to the post. And I guess most importantly, she is a very good defender. I wrote her a letter recommendation a couple of weeks ago, and that's what I put in the letter, that she was, we consider her one of our defenders. So she is a tenacious defender. If we had to have a stop and on someone else's best player, we would ask Avery to guard that player. And then the third starter is Anna Kate Akins. She's also dual sport, or actually she plays 3 sports. She plays, she's a cheerleader in the fall and winter. She plays basketball in the winter, and then she's the number 2 player on the tennis team. And so, she's been a constant for us. Handles the ball, plays defense, great team captain. All the girls, if some of them are shy or don't want to ask me something or whatever, for whatever reason, they'll go to Anna Kate, and then she'll come ask me for the team. But she is a leader on and off the floor. And I talked to her mom last night and told her, just appreciated her doing what she was doing, as far as 2 sports in the same season, cheerleading and basketball, of not making excuses. In today's times, you get a lot of players that are full of excuses. They've always got to do something else for the other thing, right when they need to be doing something for your thing, type deal. And Anna Kate has not done that. She'll go to cheer practice, come to basketball, or she'll go to basketball and go to cheer practice, and she's not late for mine for the other one. So or late, for she just juggles them both, and has really been good for the cheerleaders, and it has been good for me also. And then other starter is let's say I've got Anna Kate. Who am I missing? Other than us, Zoe Craig is also a starter. She moved in last year from out of state and has really contributed to us. It's given us a little depth, and then also being able to hit the perimeter shot. So and she's fit in well with the team, fit in well with our system and our school, and have really been blessed to have her join us. And then the last player of the starting group is her sister, which is a sophomore, Zimri Craig, and she's a solid player and handles the ball well for us. And that's been the key this year as far as being in the games we've been in and being successful is we haven't had a lot of turnovers. We want to call it out front or in the back court. We hadn't been pressed a lot this year because we've been able to transition so well from defense to offense because of her ball handling ability. And then she's good around the basket. She can shoot the three well. So she's her participation has really helped us grow as a team.
Yeah,
and then by far this is my deepest team I've had. I can go back 10 years or 15 years. We can play 9 players if we need to that they can all do something positive for our team.
Well, definitely so, Coach, because that's what I feel. The games that I have been to, the strong point of this team to me is that transition offense. They really do well. They run the floor well and get good looks in transition. And, that's what kind of went away in that Gaston City game that they had success with through the first 3 quarters, because this has been a great year for this. You hate for that game to kind of sort of ruin everything, but, the kids are resilient. They're going to be ready to go. And if you're going to be successful at Jacksonville, you got to beat the best anyway. So, it'd been nice to be playing at home against Shades Valley, but you got to go to Oxford. You've seen them before. You're familiar with them. You played them last year. So, it's not like you're going into somewhere that you haven't seen before. Well, Coach, I want to pay you a compliment because when Caleb Chisenhall was with you, he told us, and Howie kind of asked about this, and you kind of talked about it, but I wanted to go a little further. Caleb told me, he said, what I learned the most about being under Coach Sparks is how to run a program from top to bottom. And he said, most people will, and you talked about this, is why don't you run? Why don't you beat teams soundly? He said, Coach Sparks does a great job of adjusting with the personnel and he has, and he is playing to have success when it comes to the postseason. He's going to put on the floor the team he feels like is going to be successful when they get to Jacksonville. That's the way he plays the game all season long. It don't just happen overnight. He prepares for that all year.
Right. Yes. I talk to Coach Henshaw a lot. He's, I've got some good friends, but he's one of my good friends, and he's younger than I am, a lot younger. I think I'm his dad's age, but I mean he's a solid guy, and and I tried to do my best to put my assistants in a good situation to where whenever I head out, they can just pick right up and take off. And and I told him I remember well my first few years coaching. I had some really good players, and we would play a lot of teams that were not. That was 25 years ago. So, I mean, girls basketball in 25 years, I mean, you had your few programs that were, solid, but there's a lot of girls basketball, in 2001, 2, 3, and 4, that was not solid. And you had to play some of those. And I remember, as a youngster then, I was 26, 27, we would press, from start to finish and shoot the three, and they couldn't break the press because they didn't have a ball handler. And, we just talked about the importance of, that's part of our success this year is having, some guards, Zimri, Anna Kate, Avery, that can get the ball up the floor. And, you could be a solid half-court team, but if you can't get the ball up the court to get to that, then it's irrelevant. And so I remember, the first few years we would press, score 80, 90 points. A couple of the other teams, I remember scoring 20. We would score 90. And then all of a sudden, we'd play in the area. We'd win the area, sub-state. In our first game at Jacksonville, we would stop pressing. We would stop playing man because of the teams we had to play. Immediately, we went from being on the advantage to disadvantaged as far as size, quickness, and ability. And so we would always go to play in zone. We'd press and play man, and then as soon as we got to the postseason, we would play zone because we couldn't guard the girls full court, and we couldn't guard them half court, man, really. And then all of a sudden, the score would be, where we were used to being up by 20 and playing relaxed. Then all of a sudden, it's a different atmosphere. The other teams are not shooting well at Jacksonville for the most part because they're nervous also. Even though they're more athletic than you, they're still not making their shots. You're not making your shots because you're nervous, different atmosphere. Then all of a sudden it comes a possession game, and it becomes, end of the first quarter, 10-8, halftime 17-15, and then you get to the end of the game and it's 35-30 or 35-33, and so your teams would just be in knots and upset and worried and think because they only scored 20 points at halftime they were playing bad. And so we have just evolved into a more of a half-court team. I've played zone for many years, a lot of years, probably the last 20. And then, I've got Coach Boatwright. He went full-time assistant principal, and we have similar philosophies. And then, last year, a couple of years, Coach Henshaw, and then this year, Coach Coots is my assistant. They're younger, and they grew up playing man, and so I know you've watched our games. We've played man for we're 23 and 5, so it's 28 games. We've played man 28 games, and I've never played man much. And so this year we have evolved into playing man, and and I like it. It's not the traditional get up in the passing lane, type man. It's more pack line, switch every screen type philosophy, and and that's how it's evolved into a possession game. I know you see a lot of girl scores. They say, well, man, they're pressing and they're shooting the three and they're making X number of threes and they're scoring 90 points. Why are you not doing that? Well, the last 25 years, I've played the likes of J.O. Johnson. I don't know if y'all remember them. They're the new
Yes.
Mae Jemison.
Mhm.
They had 3 girls that signed with Auburn in 1 year. Alexis Agubier and the Hobbs sisters. They both, one was a senior and the other 2 were juniors. And they signed with Auburn. One year, then the other 2 the next 2 years. We played them in the regional final. We've played Hazel Green in the regional final. We've played Winona in the regional final and actually beat Winona in the first game at Jacksonville. We've played Huffman. We've played Center Point over the years before they become, or Irwin before they become Center Point. We've played Arab. We've played Scottsboro, and we played Arab with Allie Smalley. There's just not many players that we have at Fort Payne that could press those teams. And so we've just evolved into trying to execute on offense and defend, to give our team the best advantage to win. Whatever we got to do to stay in the game is what I'm willing to do. I'm not determined that I'm going to press the whole game. I'm not determined I'm going to play man the whole game. Whatever I can do to gain an advantage in one possession. I mean, I may play half-court trap, one possession just to try to get a steal, because that really could be the difference in the game and our style of play. So that's how we've evolved from 25 years ago to now. Just more fundamental, execute on offense. But I've enjoyed it.
Hey, I like. I'm gonna tell you, I like it. I mean, especially because I love to see kids that defend them. And they do that. And we were talking about that Redden in the game against Gadsden City. She really picked up her game and played physical during that game. And she's really not known to be a physical player, but she got in the low post and throwed some elbows and got rough inside. And that was something I hadn't seen her do before.
Right. No, it was important to our game plan that we had to minimize their post presence in the lane, and she did end up scoring some baskets, but it was late and it was in transition. It was I remember now just her going up the court on a turnover 2 different times. 2 times was a turnover and 1 was a blocked shot out front and scored in transition. But other than that, Libby had a great defensive game. Well, the whole team did. I mean, they scored 48 points, and a lot of those were free throws, within under the 2-minute stretch. But, I haven't looked, but our average is, in the mid to upper 30s for the year of holding teams in the 30s defensively. And, we haven't played the hardest schedule in the state, I'm sure. But, I mean, we've played Scottsboro twice. They're ranked number 1 in 5A. We played Madison Academy. They're 2 in 4A. We played Anniston. They're in the top 10. We've played Abertville twice. They're in the top 10. And Gadsden City, their record is a little above 500, maybe 17 and 16, but they've played a tough schedule. And, on the week leading up to the area tournament, they played Hartselle at Hartselle and beat them by 2 points. And Hartselle's ranked 3 in 6A. They played Plainview on Tuesday. At halftime, it was 24-20, and he didn't play his starters the second half to rest them up for the area tournament. So, I mean, they're a solid team, and we've held them twice in the 30s. So, so I think defensively we've had a great season so far.
Well, Coach, I think, you can tell us a little bit about Oxford. Of course, we've seen them in the past. And you're probably going to see a lot of the more similar things. I think you'll probably match up good with Oxford. Of course, naturally, I think they're like 18-9. They beat Shades Valley. But I feel like that game with Gaston City, will give you an opportunity because you've seen this kind of style before. And, really, I don't know if Oxford can handle the ball as well as Gaston City did.
When you say Oxford to our girls, they somewhat panic a little bit because they've had the last 3 years, or maybe 4 seasons. This is the 4th season where they have had just a run of some wow talent. They've had 2 post players that are 6'2". They've had a guard that signed Division I. So they've had some great players the last 4 years. But prior to the 4 years, I went back and showed the girls. I mean, we have really dominated Oxford in girls basketball in a 20-year period. And so that's been a little bit of a chore. It's not the Oxford of old. I mean, they may beat us 25 tomorrow or Friday, but they're not the Oxford of the last 2 or 3 years. They've lost players. I mean, they've had a player move. They've had 2 players graduate. So I mean, it's not the Oxford that we had to play last year. It's not the Oxford we played the year before. No doubt they're solid. No doubt they're athletic. They've got size. They've got all the parts to have a great team, and they are a good team. But I mean, I like my team. So
I was going to say that. I understand that too, but they've got to understand too. They are a lot better team than they have been in the past. This team is a lot more consistent than the team was last year, so they have a lot more positives than the teams have had in the past. And that's why I think they've got a great opportunity to go beat Oxford.
Absolutely. I think it was just such a letdown, the next day. But today they were much better at practice. I'd had film, going into the area, you get film on everybody because you don't know who's going to win. So you've got your huddle account just bogged down with film from Oxford, film from Shades Valley, film from Gadsden City, film from, Mountain Brook. Anybody you think you could possibly cross with or play in the next 2 weeks, because you don't have a lot of time to turn around and make it happen. And so, today after practice, we watched film and, broke down some some of their actions they do. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just like my team. I mean, I think we've got a good opportunity, in front of us. They're 0-0. We're 0-0 going into that game. And, they've got a home court advantage, but is that always good? I mean, it wasn't good for us on Monday because we, had a huge crowd and it was a loud crowd, and Vocal had a good turnout for girls basketball. And, that could have led a little bit to us getting so nervous possibly. So, or at least that's what I'm saying. So, as a coach, you try to get every advantage with your team that you can. So, Friday's game, it's not going to be, they're not going to have a big group of students, I'm not thinking. So, and we've played well at Oxford before. Traditionally we've won games at Oxford, and last year we beat them at home. We played them close at Oxford, maybe 1 possession or 2 down the stretch cost us the game. But, we split with them last year. And I had a senior that started that graduated, and they had 2. So, my senior was good for me, but their seniors were great for them. So
Yeah.
so I'm excited. I'm excited for the game because I think we're in a good position. Um, and like I said, you try to always find any advantage you can with your team, just to try to motivate them, because kids are, they're hard to motivate sometimes. If they're not self-motivated, it's tough to get them motivated. But if we'd have beat Gadsden City, we'd have played Shades Valley at home, and Shades Valley, just watching them, their style of play would have created us some problems. They've got some size. They pack it in a zone, so they're quick. And so, even though they're not up on you, even in a zone, that's the reason I played it for so many years. If you're not just on shooting, it can create problems. And so, so even though I've got some of the best group of shooters as a whole that I've had in many years, if you're not on, you're not on. And so so if we'd have beat Shades Valley at home, we'd have played Mountain Brook first game at Jacksonville, and by far from watching film and talking to coaches and just looking at scores, Mountain Brook, other than us, I feel like is the most solid team at Jacksonville, and that would have put us playing them first. And so, so with us not winning, and if we can get a win on Friday, that's probably going to put us playing Homewood, which is a better matchup for us. So, and I've told the players also many times this week, if you print out a bracket, at least half of the schools that host on Friday, they don't win. So I know a lot of teams locally over the years that have lost the area game and traveled, and in about 5 games later, they're state champions. So, it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
No, definitely not. Well, Coach, I want to ask you about this, and I'll turn you over to Howie. The atmosphere at Fort Payne is just wonderful. Coach Coker talks on this, how the student section does, and they're student driven. They come up with all these things they do. I asked Robbie, I said, do you have anything to do? He goes, no, because I want it to be student driven. But they do a wonderful job and build a great atmosphere there at Fort Payne. And that's got to be fun for these young ladies, because it is a great atmosphere at Fort Payne.
It is, and that's what I told the girls on Friday, on actually Monday. The game is important because I told them that no matter how old you are, you can always say that you're an area champion. They can't take that with you. Everybody on my staff at their school growing up, was an area champion. Coach Powell, area champion, and I've got Coach Wise helping me. She got hired this year. She's helped a little bit with my middle school, and she sits on our bench. She was on my 2012, 13, and 14 team that went to the regional, won the area tournament those 3 years, and it's so important for the girls, when they come up out of the locker room for the game and the gym is packed. And, nothing against boys sports. But a lot of times people think, well, the fans show up because the boys play next. Not just at Fort Payne, but wherever you go, whether it's Albertville, whether it's Scottsboro, or where. But I told the girls, everybody that was in the gym on Monday night came to watch Fort Payne girls basketball play. They didn't come to watch, a 29-2 boys team, and they got there early to get a seat. We were the single game that night, and so So I mean, that's big. I mean, and that's a selling point also to me in my program. I mean, what sports can you play where you show up and you have and a female and that many people show up to support you to play, and our students, our fans. It's just a great atmosphere for athletics and especially for girls basketball. I mean, we played Lee on Tuesday night before, and had a good little crowd for an afternoon game of one girls game. So so it's important, to get the support, and we've always had. You talk to other coaches, we've always had a home court advantage, and it's not officiating either. It's our fans, it's our students, our cheerleaders, our band. I mean, and we always have good crowds, good support. Just over the years, you look up in the stands and you see the people that always come to the games. They're getting older, but they always support Fort Payne basketball.
Yeah,
so,
definitely so. Yeah,
so we're going to try to enjoy that environment another year or two, and then hopefully we can transition it over to the new arena that passed today at the board meeting.
Well, that's what Coach Coker spoke of. He goes, I hope we don't lose that atmosphere we have, at the old gym. And sometimes that happens. It's a nice facility, but you lose that atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, that's, and we've designed it, Mr. Jett, and all of us have, we've designed it to where hopefully it could remain, an intimate type, down on the floor atmosphere, not so big and wide like you see a lot of these gyms that have two levels and nobody's ever in the upper level. But it's going to be nice. It's going to be a good place to host basketball.
Well,
unlike any other in the state, no doubt. I've seen the plans. It's awesome.
Going to be nice. Yeah, I definitely so. Well, and then you speak on this, Coach. That's like you was talking about going down to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a lot more intimate atmosphere. Then you get down to Birmingham and you got that big old hole, and I enjoy basketball so much more at Jacksonville. You were speaking on girls sports, and Howie can probably speak on this also. He probably will agree with me. It's so enjoyable to watch girls sports because they continually give solid effort. They wear their feelings on their sleeves, and they're just entertaining. They are a good product. They are just so fun to watch. And it don't matter if it's softball, girls basketball. I really enjoy girls sports.
Right, absolutely. I've had earlier in my career, I had folks ask me, had you not rather coach boys? I mean, coaching is coaching. You don't coach to coach boys, or you don't coach to coach girls. The end result's the same. You want them to be good people at the end of the day when they graduate. You want them to be, educated. You want them to be the best they can be, and and like I said, I've enjoyed the challenge of constantly having to coach, to strategize. To give our players the best possible chance to win. As I said earlier, I'm not known to call timeouts, and I had thought throughout the game, and the game was going so well, and then I called a timeout and we didn't score afterwards. So I don't know if I'll ever call another timeout or not.
Live learn, I guess, right?
That's right. That's exactly. But in years past, I didn't call a timeout, and I kicked myself in the rear and said, I'm calling it next time. So I don't know. It just happened, and we couldn't do much about it.
Well, go ahead, Howie.
Speaking of the timeouts, Coach, why do you not call timeouts?
if I feel like we need a timeout, if it's, as a coach, your team, okay. And a lot of times you hear fans up in the stands, or I used to hear them, but now I don't pay any attention to any of them now. But they all yell, "Call timeout, coach! Call timeout!" I remember one guy would always, that was his thing. Every time he'd come to the game, he'd yell, "Call timeout! Call timeout!" And a lot of times it would be at Jacksonville. And again, we were playing Center Point, Irwin, Huffman, J.O. Johnson, and finally I'm just like, well, if you call timeout, you got to get the ball back in bounds, Yeah. I mean, if you're in play, go with it. If the other team is on a 10-0 tear or something, yeah, I believe in calling a timeout, but if they've made 2 threes and you went down and missed 2, what's a timeout going to change? If you need to call a timeout to change personnel, or if you need to call timeout to, settle your team down, or if you need to call a timeout because you don't know what the other team is doing, I get all that. But just because they go down and score 2 threes and you come up and run 2 perfect plays and you miss 2, you call timeout. And a lot of times it does 2 things, in my opinion, just as a coach over the years. It gets the other team hyped up, and then it with my team in particular, it's almost like a letdown, kind of like, oh, we've done something bad. And so, and each coach, they have their own strategies, and coaches, every coach knows their team better than anybody else, and what works, what works for your team. But no, I've had many people over the years tell me, you can't take them home with you, and I get that, but I sure would hate to be, 5 seconds at the end of the game, down 1, and you really needed a timeout and not have it. So I'm a conservative guy, and so I try to keep my timeouts as long as I can.
I understand. We appreciate your time tonight, Coach. I got a few more questions. We're going to let you get out of here. We appreciate you.
Awesome.
Busiest time of the year. I don't know if you told Coach Coker or Coach Powell or not that you was going to be on here or not. So I don't know if they warned you.
I didn't tell anybody. I didn't.
I don't know if they warned you about some of the questions I can ask. So this is the part where we get to know Coach Sparks a little bit.
Okay.
The person, not the coach, but the actual person. Right. So, and the question I've asked everybody that's been on here, do you have any pregame ritual or superstitions you have to do before you take the court?
Not a one. I've never had a pregame ritual. Well, I take that back. I guess every game.
I knew it. I knew you'd have one.
No, I guess every game is a pregame ritual because, like I said, I'm a creature of habit. I want, and the girls know, because they've, like the ones that moved up, Lucy, Kinsley, they see, and then next year they'll be, and I do the same thing. I don't do anything in particular, but I do. I'm a creature of habit. Away games, we always have shoot around at the same time. We go to the same, we eat at the restaurant. I feed them pregame meal every game. But, that's not a superstition. That's just me being conservative. And Kelly Sanderson at Zaxby's gives us a great deal. So we go there every time. It's not a ritual, even though the kids think it is sometimes because they may get tired of going. But I'm conservative, and I save money all that I can for the program. And our practices, I've got a certain part of practice to start every single practice, regardless if it was before the area championship. Certain drills we do every single day. And I've had some players that are now coaches. Capri Tucker, coaches at Athens, she played for me. It's really, the first 15 minutes of practice is really taxing. And I try to, and I do that on purpose to get them tired before practice starts, so they'll have to practice tired. And all the kids hate it. They complain about the drills, the first 4 or 5 drills we do, but then all of a sudden, like Capri at Athens, I asked her, I said, well, Capri, because I'm always, even like I told you, Coach Henshaw and Coach Cooks, the younger coaches, they like man. I'm always open for suggestions. I mean, I ask the younger coaches, I ask everybody, what do you do? How do you do it? Why do you do it? I'm always researching, always watching games online. Actually, Coach Henshaw today, I asked him, if he'd seen this. We'd both scouted the same team. And I said, did you see this play? And he was like, yes. He's like, well, I found a counter to it. So, I asked him to send it to me. So, even though I'm old and been coaching a long time, I still, admire and trust these younger guys that's been around basketball and gals that's played. But anyways, I asked Capri, I said, well, what's your first, how do you run your practice? And she was like, well, the first, 15 minutes I do what we did when I played. I said, well, why? You hate it. You hated it so bad as a player. She was like, yeah, but man, it works. So, well, I guess that's part of my ritual. But as far as wearing, certain socks, not shaving, as long as you're winning, or a certain tie, I don't do any of that, or a certain meal or a certain snack. I don't do any of the ritual stuff. I just want to be consistent. It's what
you just basically a routine guy.
I am a routine guy. I do the same thing every day. Very seldom am I out of routine. So, this is the most unroutine thing I've done in several days.
So what type of music does Coach Sparks like to listen to?
It was funny. We went and watched the boys last night, and I asked Coach Coots, he asked me about a certain song, and I said, well, I don't really know a lot of the musicians' names, but I like, light rock. I call it boat music. I'm a boater in the summer, love the water. So just, easy listening, boat music is what I like.
Hey, I think, Coach, I'm gonna point in here. This is my wife's kind of question. It's yacht rock is what she listens to.
Well,
that's exactly what you're talking about.
I enjoy yacht rock, and they'll want to listen to music at practice. I'm not a big music listener at practice, but occasionally I'll let them listen to it. I'll say, as long as I can listen to some boat music, we're good.
So one last question. We'll let you get out of here. We appreciate your time tonight. We're only going to keep you about 45 minutes here. We are going long, but we'd love to have you back after you win the state title this year, Coach.
Boy, I'd love to. Excuse me. We're not looking that far down the road. I understand it's 5 games from now. It's a 5-game season, and if you look at the whole picture, but I really like to look at one game at a time, and whatever happens on Friday, we don't know, but I really like my team. We're not big, so I think we're at a disadvantage on size on Friday. But I like our heart. I like our ball handling ability, and you guys know as well as I do, tournament play is guard play. It's not post play. And I mean, I like it. I like our chances. And then once you get to that 1-0 and you get to Jacksonville, I mean, I've seen crazy things happen in my time, and you know, if we won at Jacksonville, it wouldn't be crazy. I mean, I really like my team. I think we've got to have some things go our way. We've got to make some shots. But we've made them this year. We've made 10 3-pointers in a game. We've had a player make 5 out of 5. We've had a player make 8 out of 12. So, I mean, and that just didn't happen by accident. I mean, you don't make 8 out of 12 just by accident, or you don't make 5 out of 6 by accident. So, we've got to get a shot of winning on Friday as the other team. And watching on film, I don't like to talk negative about anybody's team, but I feel like my team plays hard, or it just may be because I'm, partial to my team. But I really feel like my team plays hard. And a lot of teams, they don't. They want to turn it on and turn it off when they need to. And not, those teams don't always win. So, I've seen teams that were much better than other teams that turned it off, turned it on, and, it just don't happen that way. So, so we're going to be prepared the best that we can. We're going to scout them up. We're going over, our game plan to the best of our ability, and just hope it's right.
Absolutely. Last question for you. What is Coach Sparks' favorite food he likes to eat?
Man, I like anything, but I guess it's got to be Noodle House is my favorite food. I'm here now over on the side in the banquet room, and I've got my work clothes on. I just put my dress shirt on so I'd look professional, but I'm here at the restaurant, and as soon as we get off, I'm gonna start scrubbing some floors.
Awesome, Coach. Before you get out,
Coach, I eat there quite often. I'll have to agree with you.
Well, I do appreciate your business. I sure do.
Before you get going, if you have anybody you'd like to shout out, or maybe a certain restaurant you'd like to shout out, that would be fantastic.
No, I just, in just talking about the program over the years, and, winning games and being competitive year after year, I've had really, and you always hear, and I'm not comparing us to college coaches at all, not at all, but you hear the coaches that are successful at the Division I level. They all talk about not just their players, but their assistant coaches. And as a head coach, you can't do it all. I mean, you can't manage the concession stand. You can't manage the gate. You can't do the laundry. You can't drive the bus. You can't do pregame meals. You can't go scout. You can't go to every middle school game and open the gym for the Rec Plus. You have to have some help. And I don't know if y'all know Coach Boatwright, but he was my JV coach for 22 years, I guess, or 21 years. He was my JV coach. And, great guy. Helped me do whatever I could ever needed to do. All those things I called out, he was right there. And could have easily been a head coach somewhere. And then he took full-time administration. And then I was like, man, where you've got an assistant for 22 years now. You start over. And I didn't know Coach Henshaw at all, but I knew he had to be a good guy because he was from Section, and that's where I'm from. And so I knew he had to be a stand-up guy. And so I got his number. Somebody actually recommended him to me, and I called him, and I kind of was entertained, but not really. And then I called him back, and maybe he was, but then actually I think he turned it down because he had he wanted to be a head coach. And anyways, I like I said, I'm persistent and do the same thing. So I got him to come down and met him, and and we hit it off. Like I said, a great guy, and he helped me tremendously. And then he has aspirations or wanted to be a head coach, and got the opportunity to go do so, and we've really missed him. And and I thought I've had some two good ones, couldn't get a third one. And then I've got Coach Coots now. Kyle Coots is from Plainview, and again, I mean, the good Lord has blessed me with some great assistant coaches. I mean, he helps out a lot, helps scout. Just when you think you can't find another good one, like I said, I've been fortunate. And then I've got Coach Powell, who is just a varsity assistant. Kyle coaches the JV and varsity assistant, and Coach Powell, she helps, and she's got a lot of varsity experience already. I mean, I think she's been. She coached at Paul Bear Bryant High School, and then she coached at Susan Moore, Plainview, Gunnersville, Fife, and then Fort Payne. So she's, was a great player and knows the game well, and has been a head coach. And and then Sheldonna, which played for me. It's my first time to have a player on my staff. So, I've got a great staff. I know a lot of the coaches say they've got, good staff, good helper, but I've got a great staff. A lot of times you find a couple that, or maybe one out of the group that, is eager to have your job, and they're not all in really, but the group of people that I've been fortunate to work with, they have all been supportive, and not, they've been eager to be a head coach, but not eager to try to get my position. And that, you can ask any coach, that means a lot. I mean, if you have some workers that dedicate their time to helping someone else's team and buying in that it's their team also, it's huge. And I have that now. They help me scout. They watch film. We break film down and send it to each other. So, a lot goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. But man, I've been fortunate to have a good group. But also, I've been fortunate that the board and the superintendent allows us to have assistants. I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked to coaches since August. It's almost a one-man band with them. They coach every team. They coach from 7th grade to 12th grade. And I've got a 7th grade coach, an 8th grade coach. Sheldonna helped my middle school, so that's 3 middle school coaches. I've got Coach Powell, Coach Coots, and myself. So we've got 3, 3 at the high school level, 3 at the middle school. So we've got 6 coaches with girls basketball. And, I don't want to say it's not heard of because we see it a lot, but it could be that I didn't have but two. So, but man, I've been blessed with assistant coaches. So I just shout out to all my helpers because I could not do it without them. I promise you.
Absolutely. Coach, we appreciate the time. Best of luck Friday night at Oxford. What time tip off? 6 p.m.?
6 o'clock. Yes, sir.
6 o'clock. So
Are,
best of
are the
luck.
boys and girls still going to play on separate nights? Or are they going to play on the same night?
No, unfortunately, it's separate nights. At this point, we contacted Oxford this morning to see if we could play both games either night. I was willing to play Saturday, and Coach Coker was willing to play Friday, but they have not been receptive to it at this point. So,
because that would be great for, I know it'll hurt them at the gate, but that'd be great for fans, especially. It'll help the travel folks, and you'll have more people that won't have to make two trips down to town to Oxford.
Right, absolutely.
You would think maybe the state would make that a rule, even if they had to do do things a little bit different, maybe charge a little more for two games, not the full price, but do something to work, because it'd be a whole lot cheaper than having to pay for gas and food to go down to Oxford twice, because many of the fans are going to do that.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I'm in favor of doing what I can do to help our supporters out, but so far, and it's almost to the point where, I mean, if it's not decided by now, it's just almost too late to decide. But we've waited on them all day to get back in touch with us, and when I left school at 5 o'clock tonight, they still hadn't contacted Coach Coker back. So I would say, we know that the admission is important to a lot of folks, down the line. And so if we did play on the same night, they would make us clear the gym and re-enter and charge the $10 again. They're definitely not. The folks in charge are not going to allow us to give two games at the same price. So, so I would say that we're playing two separate nights, and that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We can't change those things. So,
when we get this time of year, the certain association, the money becomes the factor in a lot of things, and sometimes that's not fair.
Money is important. Absolutely.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time. We want to have you back later on, and we hope we hadn't run you off where you won't come back. So.
No, absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure. Start the season, we always get invited to Kiwanis and speak about our team. Anytime I can talk basketball and promote my players and promote the program, I mean, I'm for it because these kids put in a lot of work. I mean, it's practice every day. It's summer practice, it's spring practice, it's fall practice, it's holiday practice. They put in a lot of time and heart. And so anytime I can brag on them and promote them, I mean, I really want to do it. And it would be if someone didn't do that, it would be a travesty, because these kids, they make good grades, they play multiple sports, run track, basketball. I mean, it would be, so I do appreciate you guys for what you do and helping promote all sports. And I'm very thankful to get to promote girls basketball at Fort Payne High School. And, I just hope we can get a win on Friday, but again, as I told the girls, our season is not ever win. Season is defined by one win. So, and it's sure not going to be defined by, a loss to Gadsden City or a loss to Oxford. They've had a great 23 wins to this point, and we always want to win, no doubt. But at the end of the day, I mean, how many girls teams are happy at the end of the season? Maybe 7.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to take anything from this group because they've stayed with it a long time. Some of them haven't, but this group has stayed the course since 2nd grade. And I remember a year or 2 back, it'd been easy for this group to disperse and not continue playing, but they stuck it out and had a couple move in to help them out, and it's been a great year. It's been a fun year. So maybe we can keep it going.
All right.
Sure.
Well, good luck
Sure
to you,
hope so.
Coach.
All right, thank y'all.
Wish you the best.
Okay, are you coming
Best
to
luck.
Friday, Mr. Phil?
If I can get away, my mother's in the hospital right now, so I don't know if I can. But naturally, if we can get a chance, of course, Kinsley will be up on the varsity next year, so we go, mainly because of that, and then of course our parents go. But we enjoy going. There's a lot of people we know at Fort Payne, so it's a happening down there, so we enjoy going.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate it. Appreciate both of you asking me to come on. And again, if we can ever do anything for you guys at Fort Payne High School, let us know.
Hey,
Will
same
do.
here. If you have any fundraisers coming up, whatever, let us know. We'll promote it on our website and get the word out.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, gentlemen.
Hey,
Thank you.
For Coach Steve Sparks, Phil Harris, I'm Howie Chaney. Good night. God bless everyone.
Have a good night.
Good night.